What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Paddy Pimblett sends a warning to Michael Chandler. Paddy Pimblett continues to prepare for a showdown with Michael Chandler at UFC 314, and the baddie is warning Iron Mike to keep it clean or else. Pimblett has been tapped to fight the former Bellator champ at the April 12th card after choking King Green last July. Pimblett and Chandler don't exactly have the biggest feud going, but as the fight gets closer, the pre-fight trash talk is likely to increase. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Case in point, recently Pimblett sat down with Jon Anik for ESPN and the subject of Chandler committing fouls came up. Chandler took heat for repeatedly hitting Charles Oliveira in the back of the head in their memorable fight, and Dustin Poirier has accused the veteran of outright cheating in their fights. According to the Diamond, Chandler fish-hooked him during the 2022 fight while attempting to sink in the choke. So while discussing this with Anik, Pimblett issued this warning. I've seen the Poirier thing as well. Poirier saying he tried to fishhook him to get the choke and stuff like that. I'll do the same thing as Poirier if that happens. I'll bite his fingers and try to cut it off with my teeth. It's one of them. Given the attention to Poirier's allegations, one would think that Chandler won't be trying any fishhooks at UFC 314, but in the heat of battle, anything can happen. Pimblett was also asked to comment on Arman Tsarukyan's short notice withdrawal from his fight with Islam Makhachev at UFC 311. Like so many others, Pimblett acknowledged he was in disbelief when it was reported that the lightweight had dropped out due to a back issue. I couldn't believe it, no, thought it was crazy, like what's going on here, and I don't want to badmouth him, but the way that Dana spoke about it in his press conference after it was like it was his decision to pull out. The doctor didn't say, oh, you can't fight, that's bad. I think he mentioned Heather as well, who's one of the best sports physiotherapists in the PI, said she never told him to pull out either. I felt a bit bad for him. Pimblett also took the opportunity to take a shot at his rival, Ilia Topuria, by arguing that despite Tsarukyan's withdrawal, he believes he should be next for Makhachev, and not Hand Sanitizer Boy. If you don't know, that's Pimblett's nickname for the renowned and now former featherweight champion. Since Dana White has said that Tsarukyan will need to record a win before he gets tapped for another title shot, that's not going to happen. But do you agree with the baddie? Should Arman be next for Islam? Tom Aspinall shocked by MMA community saying Alex Pereira won at UFC 313. One of the stories coming out of UFC 313 is that there seems to be a large contingent of people who believe that Alex Pereira won that fight. But not only is Tom Aspinall adamant that Magomed Ankalaev won that bout, he can't believe how many fans don't see it that way. For months, a lot of people have talked that Ankalaev would prove to be Pereira's kryptonite. A big reason is that Ankalaev would be the first top-tier wrestler that Pereira would be facing. While the fight itself proved to be very competitive, ultimately Ankalaev was awarded the fight by all three judges, by unanimous decision. Not everyone was on board with that scoring, however, and some fans even claimed that Poatan was robbed. Well, when Aspinall was recently asked by Jamal Niaz for his thoughts on the fight, the interim champion said he doesn't believe Ankalaev was trying that hard to take Pereira down. Me, with the educated eye watching it, I don't think Ankalaev was really trying to take him down that much. Definitely tried a couple of times. I think he did 10 or 11 takedown attempts. I would say only 2 or 3 of them he went full blast. And in addition, Aspinall also had this to say about people who scored the bout for Pereira. I can't believe people watched that fight and thought that Pereira had won. It was just wild to me how many uneducated fans there are out there, and how many uneducated fans out there thought it was a boring fight as well. I thought it was an amazing fight. Both guys did good, and I think that Ankalaev was just a lot better than him on the night. That's it. It'll be interesting to see how this fight is viewed down the line, in say 1 year's time maybe, but did you have it scored for Ankalaev as well? It should be noted that since UFC 313, Ankalaev's coach has accused Pereira of greasing. Officially, Ankalaev tried taking Poatan down 12 times, and he was never able to. Do you think his team really believes this, or is it just an excuse? Islam Makhachev rejects Ilia Topuria fight. There's hardly a day that goes by without there being talk as to when Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria are gonna fight, even though Makhachev has said he's not interested in that matchup. Reportedly, an outlet in Russia has posted that the lightweight king has indeed passed on fighting Topuria next. There was buzz there for a while about the possibility of Makhachev and Topuria fighting at some point, but following the recent news that Topuria vacated the featherweight title to make a run at lightweight, speculation about him facing Makhachev skyrocketed. So much so, there's been rumors that the UFC is planning to book this fight for International Fight Week in June. But now it's been reported that Russia's TASS Sport has been told by Makhachev's team that they are not interested in facing Topuria yet. Here's one report via social media. Islam Makhachev has reportedly turned down a fight with Ilia Topuria. Islam has not agreed to this fight. He maintains the position that Topuria needs to earn a title shot at 155. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean we won't see this fight next, but that quote shouldn't come as a surprise, given that Makhachev has said he has nothing to gain by fighting Topuria now. The champion said that he has plenty of cash already, and because he's already defeated Alexander Volkanovski twice, defeating another former featherweight champion does nothing for his legacy. But if Topuria were to beat, say, Justin Gaethje or Arman Tsarukyan, it sounds like Islam could feel differently. All that aside, recently, Makhachev raised eyebrows by posting a video of a guy who apparently has trained with Ilia Topuria. The kid has traveled to Dagestan to train with the region's renowned fighters, one of which is, of course, Mr. Makhachev. Could we see this guy fighting in the UFC at some point? We shall see. It looks like Islam Makhachev found out about his connection to Ilia Topuria.
Пацан приехал на удушающий проверить. Ага. Работает? You good?
Robert Whittaker responds to call out at UFC 104. Following Roman Dolidze's victory over Marvin Vettori at UFC Vegas 104, the Georgian middleweight called for bouts with either Israel Adesanya or Robert Whittaker. Well, Whittaker has already responded to the challenge, and it seems clear he has other plans. Dolidze faced Vettori in Saturday's main event, and he proceeded to work his way to a unanimous decision win over the longtime contender. With the victory, Dolidze extended his winning streak to 3, and he also avenged his 2023 decision loss to Vettori. During his post-fight interview with Michael Bisping, Dolidze mentioned Whittaker and Adesanya when asked about who he wants to face next. Then, while talking to the media after, the 36-year-old defended his call-out. Why not? All these guys need opponents. They need to fight somebody. They need to have some opponent. I don't care if it'll be somebody else from top 5. I'm also ready. I don't really care much, but I said more realistic fights because both of them lost. That's why I said I don't really care who it'll be from the top 5. During a recent episode of the MMA Arcade podcast, Whittaker was asked to respond to Dolidze. Not only does Bobby Knuckles think that Dolidze and Vettori should have a rubber match, he has his sights set on fighting Sean Strickland. I reckon they should run it back to get some closure on whatever reason they're having a brawl. I'm trying to fight a top 5 guy, dude. Join the queue. I want to fight Sean Strickland, International Fight Week. Even if you're a big Dolidze supporter, you can't fault Whittaker for the stance here. While Dolidze will likely move up the middleweight rankings next week, he almost certainly will not be ranked in the top 5. Whittaker is currently sitting in the number 5 spot. And further, there's no question that a fight with Strickland would be much bigger. Francis Ngannou leaving the PFL? It remains to be seen when we'll see Francis Ngannou fight in his next MMA bout, but PFL founder Don Davis has moved quickly to shut down speculation that the Predator may not return to the PFL cage. Although it's been nearly 2 years now since Ngannou signed with the PFL, the former UFC heavyweight champion has only fought once for the promotion. The feared slugger took out Renan Ferreira in October to lay claim to the PFL's Super Fights heavyweight title. That bout followed Ngannou's vicious knockout to boxing star Anthony Joshua in March 2024, and so many believe that the 38-year-old would focus on MMA moving forward. But more recently, Ngannou relayed he's hoping to secure a boxing match with Deontay Wilder, so speculation about when we'll see him fight for the PFL again has continued. Well, during a recent episode of Hey Not The Face podcast, MMA journalist John S. Nash reportedly stated this: I don't know how much longer Francis Ngannou has in PFL. Ngannou is one of their biggest sales pitches, and if it's true that his contract has a termination date and that termination date is the end of this month, they better get on that because this is one of their major selling points, and if they're looking for a big TV deal. It wasn't long before the aforementioned Davis responded with this: No truth, fake news. Francis has at least one more fight with PFL. Further, Francis is long-term business partner as chairman PFL Africa. It'll be interesting to see what comes next for Ngannou. While Ngannou is a chairman for PFL Africa, one would think he'll entertain other offers if and when his PFL contract is complete. Or if he does face Wilder and collects another big check, will the Predator need to return to the MMA cage at all? And if he isn't in the UFC, who will he fight in MMA? What do you think the future holds for Ngannou? Rafael Fiziev gets warned about move to 145. Following Rafael Fiziev's loss to Justin Gaethje at UFC 313, the Azerbaijani fighter has reported he's thinking about moving down to featherweight. But one person who has made it clear they think that's not a good idea is the American gangster Chael Sonnen. Fiziev stepped in on short notice for Dan Hooker, who went down with a hand injury to battle Gaethje at the March 8th card. As discussed, the fight turned heads and prompted extensive cheers as predicted. Well, not long after his decision loss to Gaethje, Fiziev told Ariel Helwani he's thinking about making the drop to 145. And Fiziev said that a key reason why is because he made 155 pounds very easily for this Gaethje rematch. More recently, Sonnen proceeded to weigh in on Fiziev's comments on his YouTube channel. Here's what Sonnen said. Fiziev is talking about going down to 145 pounds. First off, that's not a great idea. The years of your career, and when the whole career is done, the only thing that's real is the money and the miles. You will shorten your career by going to 145. And historically speaking, you can't find me examples of when that has worked. Now, Jose Aldo is the one who comes to mind as someone who has had success moving down a division. The former featherweight king has recorded several big victories since moving to bantamweight, and initially, his decision to leave 145 was met with extensive skepticism. But one could argue that's the exception rather than the rule. What do you think of Fiziev contemplating a drop to featherweight? Should he stay at 155? Marvin Vettori calls for a trilogy with Roman Dolidze. Marvin Vettori came up short in his second fight with Roman Dolidze at UFC Vegas 104, and the Italian Dream wants to run it back for a third time. Vettori and Dolidze battled in Saturday's headliner for a second time, as back in March of 2023, Vettori won the fight via unanimous decision. In the rematch, however, it was Dolidze who took the bout via scores of 49-46 from all three judges. Following the competitive fight, Vettori acknowledged via social media that the scrap was close, before he proceeded to tell his critics off. Just rewatch the fight, that was close, all good, I'll figure it out, for everyone talking. In addition, the outspoken middleweight called for a rubber match, while also criticizing the fight's referee, Herb Dean. I guess we'll need a trilogy. The most nonsense trilogy, I agree with you. LOL, but at this point it has to happen. Also, Herb Dean, I even told you in the changing room about eye pokes. What the Not surprisingly, Dolidze was also asked about the possibility of fighting Vettori for a third time during the post-fight presser. While the Georgian fighter said he would do so because Vettori granted him a rematch, Dolidze doesn't see it happening.
Let's be fair then. He gave me this range. If UFC will need it, I probably will do, just because of respect. Because I respect that he agreed to fight me. Because why he will do this? Back then I was number 10, he was number 7. But I think UFC will have other plans for me.
Do you agree with Dolidze here? Will the UFC close the book on the Vettori-Dolidze series, or do you want to see their trilogy fight? Conor McGregor meeting president at the White House. Conor McGregor was invited to the White House to speak to media members and answer questions about Ireland's poor political climate for St. Patrick's Day before he was scheduled to meet with President Trump. He said to media members,
Ireland and America, we are siblings. We consider America our big sibling. So it's important for Ireland to have be a peaceful, happy, prosperous country for the 40 million Irish Americans to have a place to visit, to come back to their home. So we wish for our relationship with the United States to continue, and we wish to be taken care of by the big bro. You know, the United States should look after its little bro.
Sean Strickland reacted to Conor McGregor being in the White House by saying, Conor in the White House, the price of is about to soar, buy low, sell high. UFC 316 main event leaked. Sean O'Malley vs. Merab Dvalishvili rematch is reportedly in the works for UFC 316, according to Kevin K on Twitter, and was also reposted by Red Corner MMA. Kevin also said that O'Malley is already in training camp for this rematch. He mentioned confirming with his sources that this is 100% accurate news, and even went as far as to stake his entire reputation on this announcement. There could be some validity here since Sean O'Malley has been actively posting him in the gym on Snapchat. It's important to note that this isn't officially confirmed yet by the UFC, so dates and events could still be changed, but Kevin had leaked it to be the main event for UFC 316. Dana White already confirmed the two are wanting to fight each other next, and says the fans want to see it.
They want to fight each other. I think people want to see it.
The two were also in the UFC PI earlier this month and talked about the rematch. So with it being leaked that this is going to be the main event at UFC 316 in Newark, New Jersey on June 7th, Kevin is also saying that the co-main for this card would be Kayla Harrison versus Juliana Pena. Who do you think wins this rematch? Let us know in the comments.